parents, all the child is trying to do is explore their world, and they just don't know what they can touch and what they can't touch, or because it's always grabbing. They don't just touch it, they grab it. One of the first words a toddler learns is no, or some parents resort to slapping the hand. And I just want everybody to know that's truly harmful.
Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health. I'm Dr. John Harmon, physician, brain health expert, and your host on this no-fluff journey into whole body healing.
And I'm Tracey Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host. This is the space where we get real about what actually heals, not just what's trending.
If you're done with surface level advice and ready to understand your body, your mind, and your health from the inside out, this podcast is for you.
We're here for the raw conversations most people avoid. We don't sugarcoat, we don't shame. We offer tools, truths, and transformation.
Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health, the podcast where we get real about what it means to raise healthy families from the inside out. I'm your co-host, Tracey Green, wellness coach and mom on a mission. No, don't touch that, and other harmful things we say to our toddlers. Dr. Harmon, I know you have a story about something you've taught your daughters when they were little about this very topic.
It's actually very, very dear to my heart. It was back when I was in chiropractic college. I was in somewhere around fifth term, and we were talking about how wide, how thick the cervical spine is compared to for example, the upper lumbar spine. First of all of the nerves are going down through the neck all the way down to the lower back, so it makes sense. But the whole point was the hands, the fingertips, the palms are so rich in sensory nerves, temperature, light touch, deep touch, stereognosis, which is you're feeling the shapes of things, and others just really rich with sensation. And the professor said this sentence: the hand is an extension of the brain. And I thought about that, and I had this little baby that was just born. And at the same time, in a separate class, we were learning how to develop the sensitivity in our fingertips so that we could feel the spine and different structures, where they are, where there's the atlas, where's C6, where's this, where's that. And so that professor had us keep a coin in our pocket. And when we didn't have anything to do, pull that coin out and try to feel which side was heads and which side was tails, which was up, which was down. And oftentimes when I'm telling people about this, I say, I got so I could feel where the date was. I really couldn't, but you should see the look on their face. When I first started doing it, I couldn't tell which was heads, which was tails. And then after weeks and months, I could feel so much more because I actually grew new sensors in my skin and new neurons in my brain so that I could do that better, neuroplasticity. Well, then I had
Wow.
this idea. Here, this little infant, we're trying to develop as much as possible, the brain and that connection. All of this sensory input is around them, and they're just trying to explore their world. And I was also thinking about how parents, uh, sometimes the relationship between the parents and the child, when all the child is trying to do is explore their world, and they just don't know what they can touch and what they can't touch, or because it's always grabbing. They don't just touch it, they grab it. And the parent naturally doesn't want them to hurt themselves on something like a glass figurine, or pull over the Christmas tree or something like that. And so it's always been one of the first words a toddler learns is no, and it's followed by don't touch, or some parents resort to slapping the hand. And I just want everybody to know that's truly harmful, because it's stifling that little infant, that little toddler's desire to explore and find out and touch. And what they want to put it in their mouth, they want to taste it. What is this thing? Ooh, this looks good. Oh, it's a bug. Whoops. That doesn't taste very good. But they're just learning machines. And parents would do well to do the following. And this idea just came to me. Why don't I help Abby develop the sensitivity in her fingertips, thereby developing her brain? And so I started this little game, and I would hold her and take her around the room, and I would spread out her fingers, so the flat palm, and I would have her palm, I would take it and then rub it on things like the glass on pictures, I would say smooth. The rough on the textured wall, I would say rough, smooth, and let her touch everything. Of course, she tried to grab everything, and I said, just touch it. I didn't say don't grab. I said, just touch, just touch, touch. We'd go
Oh,
all the way around the house, take her outside. The bark on the tree, the leaves, the bark on the tree, I'd say rough, smooth, rough, soft, hard. I would tell her all to describe all of the sensations that she's feeling. And it took weeks or maybe even months. I don't remember because she has 4 kids of her own now. Rather quickly, she started to learn touching. And when I would get home from school, she would reach her hand out and go, touch, 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 touch. She wanted to play this game. So I would pick her up, take her around the house, outside. That was our bonding time, but it was also such important time for brain development. And I can explore my world. Man, I get to touch everything. And a biggie, the first word she learned wasn't no, don't
hmm.
touch. So fast forward to Christmas. Our friends are over, and she's walking over. She's walking by now, and she's walking over to the Christmas tree. And our friends are freaking out. Oh, she's going to pull over the tree. Stop her. And I said, just watch. She walks up to the ornaments, opens her palm like I showed her, and goes, oh, oh, oh. So
Oh,
she just,
precious.
she wanted to just feel, what does it feel like? They're all shiny. I want to touch those things. And
Yeah.
so she was able to touch everything because we had confidence that she knew the difference between touching and grabbing. And that's the key. Teach them the difference between touching and grabbing. And then your life is a lot easier as a parent because you don't have to watch them so constantly that they're going to break something. And then they feel comfortable in the
That,
world. So
yeah.
fast forward, Abby's in elementary school, and I'm helping her, or maybe it was junior high, I can't remember. But she said, "You know what, Dad? It's really weird. Like when I'm taking a test, I can see the page where that topic was." And I
Oh,
said, "Man, did she develop a photographic memory?" But that was her schooling. She just remembered stuff so easily. And whether or not that happens to your child, I don't know. And I don't, this wasn't a scientific study, but it was a truly bonding time with Abby. We weren't just, playing a game, which is important too, singing songs and things. We did that as well. But for the development of her brain and for her to understand that she could explore her world without limits, because I taught her the restraint of not grabbing it and destroying it, just touching it. So I would encourage you to do that with your infants as early as you possibly can. It was really a great thing for her.
no, I love that. What about, so we know toddlers can test your patience like no other. So
Yeah.
how do we respond to them, especially with our words? We can either build connection or we can create disconnection.
Yes. And that right there, I talk about this a lot, but usually it's with adults who've had their default mode network full of negative things. Let me explain that. This is a part of the brain that wasn't even discovered until 2001. And researchers were trying to monitor blood flow when they had people think of certain things. And so they had them hooked up to SPECT scans and functional MRIs. And they would ask them to do a certain task in their brain, and then they're gathering all the information on the blood flow. They're watching where it goes. And every single one of the participants in the study, in between, after where they're asked to think of something, in between or between that time and the next command, all of a sudden, these other parts of the brain got really active in every single person when they weren't engaged in the outside world.
Oh, incredible.
What this is, it's our sense of self. It's self-referential. Who am I? What did I learn from my parents about me? What did I learn from my teachers? What were my emotional sticking points? What was really emotional to me or really important? It's things perceived by people that were important. The very important things. Oh my gosh, the look on my mom's face when she said that. I better remember that. So your
Mhm.
body makes kind of a file and puts it in this filing cabinet called the default mode network. And when we're not engaged in other things, this network comes on. Remember when your mom said this? Remember when she called you fat? Remember when that boy said you were ugly? Remember this, remember this, remember this. And if it's full of positive things, it goes to positive things. Remember when your dad, took you around the house and showed you how to just touch things instead of, or remember when your mom told you, remember when they said you were, really, you did that really well. Remember when your teacher said, wow, that's really smart. Or it's what that file cabinet is full of. They have the biggest tab. So my point here with parents, words are not just something that you said. They are things that child is going to file it away, and it's all of the emotion, the facial expression, how you said it, your tone, was it mean? That gets filed away. And it has a lot to do with that little child's sense of self if it's said in a demeaning way, even as a joke. And I say that with huge emphasis because parents joke about their kids, and it actually hurts my heart when I hear it. Yeah, this is my little rugrat. This is my little rugrat. Yeah, you should have seen. You'd see. He wasn't born. He was delivered by a stork, or he this or that. I mean, you think about fill in the blanks. If you do that again, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Things like that get filed in that system to once again be brought out when the child is feeling a little insecure or in certain situations that resemble the situation that when that incident happened. And the child might not even know it, but it creates fear, it creates self-doubt, it creates, in some people, rumination. If they hear something often enough, I'm worthless because the parent told me that. They don't say, yeah, my mom said that. It's just that self doubt and the rumination that happens. I suck at this. I suck at that. I'm terrible at that. I'm a little rugrat, never going to amount to anything. Also, parents' thoughts about money. We can't afford that. What are you asking me for that? We can't afford that, or what? There's never enough. There's never enough. And the person grows up, the child grows up to think that there's never going to be enough because my mom and dad said that a lot. So that must be true. So it's things perceived to be very important, things that were perceived to be very emotional, are stored there. And that I want parents to understand the way we talk to them is what gets built in that default mode network. Wonderful things you can do for your child. Try, and I learned this from Dr. Dennis Waitley. I was a young dad in my 20s, and I was a salesman, and I was in the car a lot. And so I had these tapes by Dr. Dennis Waitley. He's the guy who helped retrain the Vietnam POWs' brains when they came back. And he said, every single day, try to catch your children doing something right.
Mm.
Because if
Yep.
you always are pointing out the things they're doing wrong, they're going to try to get more of your attention, even if it's negative attention. Parents, try to catch your child doing something right every day because we're constantly, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do it. No, 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 you can't do it. Stop doing that. You're going to hurt. Nope, you're going to hurt your sister. Stop saying that. And so what happens, we have this negative reinforcement. So that was one of the things I learned from Dr. Waitley, and the other one, it's kind of funny when I think about it, because he said, never strike a child unless he's going to harm himself or others. And what's fascinating to me out in public, I'll see some, in a grocery store or something, one child hits the other, and the mother spanks the child and said, don't hit. I thought, wow, I bet she doesn't realize that she just she just
Yep.
hit the child whilst telling the child not to hit people. So never strike a child unless he's going to harm himself or others. And so in those moments where they've done something really terrible and you just want to tear into them and you want to get out the belt or whatever, is he going to harm himself or others? No, dang it. I gotta walk away. But that was my guideline. If it's not something where he's going to harm someone and I have to do something right now to stop that, then it's not applicable. My kids didn't grow up with punishment, spanking. It was not guilt based and it wasn't punishment based. It was, first of all, you do something, the natural consequences, you're going to have to live with that. But it was also learning from their
Mhm.
mistakes. And kids learn a lot better by letting them make their own mistakes, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree with you. And my husband and I, we did not spank our daughter at all. My husband came from a very dysfunctional family, and he didn't like his stepdad growing up. And that was one thing he was very adamant about when our daughter was little, that there was absolutely no spanking. I got the belt, on the other hand, when I was little, but there was absolutely no spanking with our daughter. And you're so right about words matter, and they carry on with you years later. I mean, my husband, we've been married for over 20 years. So, over the years, all these things have come out from his past, and simple things like, you know, what'd you do today? He doesn't like that. That's a trigger word for him, because that's how it was when he was at home. And that was a negative, what'd you do today? So there's things that he's worked through even later in life that stems from his childhood. So saying words matter, and what you say to even a toddler, and they file it away for the rest of their life. It could be there when they're 30, 40, 50 years old, and pull that out later in a relationship and not even know why.
Right. That's the key right there, because you don't know what they went through. I mean, it's a sense of self, where did I live? What did I do? Who were my friends? Who were all of that stuff. And if there was something that's similar to the current situation before, they won't even know why they got upset.
Hmm.
The great thing is there's a way of reprogramming that, and we'll go over that on another episode, because, who wants to live with all that stuff your whole life?
There's some counselors out there that can help people work through all that, right? Digging through all of that.
Well, they're counselors, and there are a lot of different therapies, and we'll talk about those that can all contribute to getting better.
Hmm.
Having a skill that you can do at home, I think, is the basis for resetting that. And just know that you can choose what things, what emotions, what things you want your brain to go to when that default mode network comes on. Just
Mhm.
make folders with bigger tabs and bolder letters on it. In other words, give it enough attention, putting it there, that we'll talk about, where it will automatically go to the things that you chose to put in there instead of the things that other people did.
I've been fortunate enough to drive my daughter to and from school, and it's time that I get with her in the morning that and after school that I love. And she was telling me a couple years ago, she's telling me about how she was walking into a history test and she's like, I've got this, super confident, and of course aced it. I think she got 100 on it that day. And then a few months later, she's stressed out about another test and she's getting ready to get out of the car. And I said, Bella, think about that feeling you had a couple months ago when you're walking into your history test. Do you remember that feeling? Yes, mom. Take that with you when you go into this test. That going back to that moment.
Yeah,
And she did it. She said she remembered when she walked into the class. She's like, thought back to that history day. It really helped her grab that confidence. And when she was able to go in and, of course, do amazing on this test. But sometimes they need that point of reference to go back to that moment, like you were talking about, to
right.
remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can replace the negative things that have been programmed by, teachers, parents, classmates, peers. You can override that. There's a way of doing that. We'll have another episode about how to do that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about another biggie. Be a big boy, be a big girl. What's wrong with that one? I've heard that a lot. Just be a big girl. Come on, you can do it. Be a big girl.
Yeah. Um, that's a very, very common one. Be a big boy, but they're not a big boy. They should be okay with, who they are right now, rather than try to be a big boy when they're
How
only.
powerful that is, Dr. Harmon. Like, they're not. Just that simple. You just said that's so powerful.
Yeah, it discounts who they are right now. What does that mean? Be a big boy. Do I have to be like you right now? They don't even know what that means. What does it mean to be a big boy? Does it mean that I'm tall? Does it mean that I have way more emotional intelligence than you expect me to have right now? So it's a lot to ask. Um, specifically, you can talk about whatever the context is, or just say, I know you're feeling a little bit frustrated right now, but I'm here for you. Let them figure it out. Give them time to figure it out. Or if they're emotional, I know you're feeling upset right now, but I just want you to know that I'm here with you and I'm here for you. Let them experience the emotion, let them process it, and it's not from anything that you told them to feel or think. It was their own. Kids need to learn how to figure things out themselves. And that's a really a good thing for parents to say too. If they're talking about doing something, instead of telling them, no, that's dangerous or that's this. Okay, I want you to figure out how you're going to do that, but not just how you're going to do it, how you're going to do it really carefully,
Hmm.
because you could fall over there. So what are you going to do to make sure that doesn't happen? And then they are going to be the strategist, not you telling them what to do. They thought it through, and then you're not going to let them crawl along the cliff. But if it's like my son, we had my youngest son, we had a long set of stairs, and then there was a landing, and then three stairs, and it was a 90-degree turn. And he was up at the top of the long stairway, and he just he kept wanting to take a step because that's what he saw everyone do. And I thought, man, he's going to hurt himself. So I took him up to the second step on of the three to see if he would try. And sure enough, he tried it and he fell down. He didn't get hurt, but
Hmm.
he figured it out. That's not a good thing to do, rather than me having to tell him, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And just let him learn on his own. And that was the natural consequence. Part of the key is, you know, first of all, kids need to be supported and allowed to feel their emotions and learn how to regulate themselves.
Absolutely. And I think too, when they are given the opportunity to learn, I think that you're helping to build confidence, and then just simple as I'm here for you. I'm here every step of the way, then they know their
Right.
parents are there.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah. And even kind of just being with them. If they start crying, gosh, I know you're really upset right now. And to hold them. I'm here with you.
I feel like so many of us, my daughter's 17, so I'm past this stage. So I feel like if there's parents out there that have littles, and they've said things like Rugrat or some of the things that you've said earlier, what would your advice be to them moving forward to help them get back to more of a positive space and more of a connective space with their toddlers?
And you know what,
Encouraging.
Tracy, that is such that's a very difficult thing because it's so ingrained in a culture of a family. Because where
Mm.
did they get it? They got it from their parents. They probably got it from their grandparents. And so it's a generational way of joking around about children. But I want to tell you the, the subconscious mind hears the words and believes them. It doesn't interpret them. You
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my little rugrat. This is my little rug. I've actually heard parents introduce their kids. These are my little rugrats.
No,
These are
oh,
my
that's
little
terrible.
these are my little brats. Yes,
Oh,
sometimes
that's terrible.
I horrible.
That's terrible.
It is.
I've heard people introduce their spouses as their ball and chain, and I've never understood that. I've never, ever
No.
understood that at all. Same thing.
Tell
Yeah.
I tell parents in my clinic, I tell them words can be a curse for good or bad. And,
Hmm.
and then I explain it like this. 17-year-old girl going to the dance. And I know it's different nowadays, but in my day, they get all dressed up and get their best outfit on, their makeup and their hair is done. She goes to the dance, and the prettiest girl comes up and says, "What are you wearing that ugly thing for? And by the way, it makes you look fat."
Oh my
That
gosh.
that is a
Oh,
curse that
ah,
will likely last a lifetime unless that girl is mature enough and has enough self-confidence to let it roll off. But most people that age do not. And a lot of times they won't even tell what happened. They won't tell their parents if their parents don't have a lot of empathy. And so they just live with that. And that's part of that default mode network. You're ugly and you're fat and you have ugly clothes.
oh,
So, parents, remember words, even said as a joke, can be a lifetime curse on that child's self-esteem and in their default mode network.
oh,
Horrible.
that's huge.
Yeah, I hear that out in public and I just want to go up and sit down with the parents, but that's not going to work.
No, I know, right? You hear something and it's going to do to that toddler later in life, and terrible. All right, Dr. Harmon, one last question. What's one phrase you'd love every parent to use daily?
I love how you did that so carefully and thoughtfully because that's not giving any false praise. If they do something, even a toddler, I'd put that up on the shelf. Wow, I love how you did that so carefully. Or you really showed a lot of concern for your sister, a lot of love when you helped her get back up, or uh, something. And it goes back to try to find your child doing something right at least once a
Mhm.
day. Um, and also, one more thing I want parents to know. I want you to know when you tell a toddler that he cannot do something,
Mhm.
you have to know that as soon as you turn your back or as soon as he
Mhm.
walks away, he or she, he's going to do it again
1000%.
within 1 second. And so you have to gently, you know, pull the child in again and say, Johnny, I told you not to do that, remember? So don't do that. I said, don't do that. And then the child turned, he's going to do it a second time within 1 second. You have to get down at their level, at eye level, and say, Johnny, I really need you to understand this. Mommy or daddy doesn't want you to do that anymore. Okay? Wait till they answer. Okay? Okay. You have a pretty good chance that he's not going to do it for a while. But here's what I see parents do out in public. Don't do that. Or at family gatherings. Don't do that. And then the parent goes about their business for the next 15 minutes, and the child turns and continues to do it for 15 minutes. And then the parent gets angry. I told you not to do that. And now it's a game. Now I know if I do this long enough, I'm going to get dad's attention. Sweet. Sometimes I've seen kids with a, excuse the phrase, shit-eating grin on their
Mhm.
face. I got dad. I got him again. I got him upset, but I got the attention. And that is their relationship. From there on, that is the relationship. The parent tells the kid not to do something. The kid keeps doing it. The parent gets angry. The kid keeps doing it. And it's just this back and forth. I've seen it in families.
Mhm.
And the parents have zero control, no control, because they didn't follow through. So it has to happen within 1 second. And if it doesn't happen by the age of 2, you're toast.
Right.
That's now your relationship. They don't ever do what you tell them to do, and they're proud of it. That's the way it is. Takes, unfortunately, sometimes some drastic things later in life when kids never learn, those boundaries. I shouldn't
Mhm.
do this. My teacher told me not to do this. Well, I keep doing it and I get sent to the principal, but at least I get all this attention.
Right.
So that's an important thing for new parents to learn. That's for sure.
There's so many things for new parents to learn.
There's no class we have to take to have a child. And so what we do is we pass on all the generational trauma from our past, from our parents and their parents and their parents for 14 generations. But the good thing is you can say, and I've told my kids this, said my parents used to argue a lot. I remember I think I was around 10 and I was in the back seat and they were fighting, arguing in the front seat. And I said these words, they told me, you two need to stop arguing. You sound like a couple of little kids. So anyway, I made the decision at a young age, I will not have that in my house. I will
Mhm.
not have arguing and fighting, yelling in my house. And I tell kids in my practice, they tell me things their parents do. I said, you know what? You get to choose what you take forth into your life, into your marriage, your partnership, whatever it is. You get to choose the things that you're not going to do in your house because you've told me you hate that so much. Choose to not do that. Don't let it go another generation.
Yeah. Break those generational curses, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So there you have it. What not to say to toddlers and what to say instead. I think that was great, Dr. Harmon. I love all of the side stories about your family. I think that was very helpful. And I think the vote of confidence that you can give parents and the vote of confidence you can give toddlers, these parents, what they say matters.
Absolutely. They're the sculptor with the blob of clay, and they're going to make something beautiful or something that comes back to haunt them. We talk about families and helping them to be the best they can be, not only nutritionally but emotionally as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it's helpful.
They say it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
Don't forget to follow us. We're on Instagram, Root Cause Holistic Health. And we'll be back next week with another raw and real conversation. Until then,
Bye-bye, everybody.
see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Root Cause Holistic Health. We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, or just someone ready to stop settling for Band-Aid fixes, we hope today's episode gave you something to think about.
If you found this episode valuable, do us a favor, share it with someone you love, and leave a review so we can reach more families like yours.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode. We've got more honest conversations, practical tips, and root cause wisdom coming your way.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and most of all, stay connected to what truly matters.
We'll see you next time on Root Cause Holistic Health.